So what I'd like to talk to you about today is an open source solution that we've released over the last few weeks called ADA, or Automated Data Analytics. This is for simplified data management on AWS. So for this, I want to introduce the real star of our presentation, which is not myself or Jane. It's the data engineer. So I listened to Jenna's talk, and we took the Wikipedia list of what a data engineer needs to consider. A data engineer needs to consider so many things every day. It's a tough job. So, what is a day in the life of a data engineer? Because what we want to look at is what are the challenges, what are the problems that data engineers are facing currently? And let's look at a day in the life. Keeping in mind, the data engineer needs to consider about all of the things we just talked about in this previous slide. The data engineer needs to think about the governance, security, monitoring, all of these things. Let's consider their day. The business comes up to our data engineer. Marketing team, are our customers churning? The data scientists, can you give us real-time data for our ML models? Finance, the board needs lead conversion numbers. And this is just in the morning. What they're really saying is, give us good quality, updated, compliant, secured, and clean data, and we want it yesterday. So this is what we face every day as a data engineer. So a data engineer wants to solve all of these challenges. A data engineer would like to create a data platform to solve this. To create a data platform, at AWS we have a lot of native services to solve this. So we may want to have real-time data streaming. For real-time data streaming, we may ingest our data from Kinesis. We may flow through from Kinesis to, let's say, Kinesis Data Analytics to join that to other streams. There's a lot of things to consider here. To create a mature data pipeline, we have a lot of services. Keeping in mind what a data engineer needs to consider, and then we look at, let's say, a mature architectural diagram of how they might deliver this, we hit a bit of a snag. So, we need to give marketing their conversion data, we need to get the board report ready, and now we need a data platform. Can we please have the data platform by this afternoon as well? Hang on. So, can you guys produce this by 6 p.m. today, please? Does that seem doable? It's a hard task. We need to consider so many different problems. We need to create a mature platform using many of the tools we have at our disposal. This is why we've published an open source package, ADA, or Automated Data Analytics. So this is something which we've published over the last few weeks. And this is a one-click deployment. And let's have a look at how this can help the data engineer with their rather difficult day. So, ADA is a platform that takes the native AWS services that we provide, and it provides that without needing to understand the details of how those things are put together. The data engineer doesn't need to write a line of code or understand how an IAM role works. However, they can still keep the data running within their own AWS environment using AWS native services. So under the hood, this will store the data on S3. Under the hood, it will use Glue to transform the data. The data engineer doesn't need to consider that. They can have a data platform in their AWS account using native AWS services, and they can have this without writing a line of code. And it's an open source tool. So what does this data platform give the data engineer? This platform, and we'll give a demo in a moment so this all makes a bit more sense. This data platform will ingest data from a list of sources. So that's AWS sources or third-party data sources. It's an open source connector framework, so if you need a source that's not covered, you can create a connector relatively easily. Ada will redact your PII data. You can make sure that the emails are not viewable by an attacker. It integrates with your access control system. It doesn't require coding, and it gives you a very granular security control. So, native AWS services without having to configure them yourself, one-click deployment. Let's get to a demo. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Jane, who's going to take us through what it looks like.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jane. In the real world, we would like to give you a live demo, but due to time constraints, we'll just walk you through the code. But if you have time later and you're interested, we have a booth and we have people that are happy to walk you through a live demo there. So on to Ada. So I'm going to put together a scenario where you've been handed 2 files as a data engineer. Say marketing has ran a campaign. They've picked up some new customers. They've also got some, conversion rate numbers, right? So 2 CSV files, and they've gone, give us a report, right? So let's walk through this scenario and how it will look like in Ada. So the ask from marketing, customer conversion rate from a recent campaign. That's a very common question. So logging into Ada, this is what you get. So this is our dashboard. You can see down here is a list of data products that's already in Ada. If you look on the list, you see, so we've pre-prepared some. You see different source types. So this is the connectors that Tim was talking about. So we've got files coming from file uploads. We've got files sitting in the S3 buckets. We've got files sitting outside of S3, maybe in a different cloud provider as well. You could write a custom connector, get it in there. Out of the box, there's a few that's already supported. So as a data engineer or even a marketing person coming into Ada, not knowing any code, I could easily come in here and go, you know what, I'm going to create a new data product based on the campaign that we've recently ran. And this is how it looks like, right? So you go over here, go create data product, and you get this pop-up screen going. All right, give us a domain for your data product. That's just a way we've grouped products together. So we've gone, all right, this is the Unicorn marketing team. So that's our domain. We're naming our data product customer. To be more specific. You come in here and choose the source type that you've got, right? So it's kind of, it is really ClickOps to get it true. So in our case, we'll do a file upload. And that's all you need to do to get your file into the platform that team showed just now. We'll come back to this automatic PII data a bit later. So on to the next screen. You've loaded your data, you've uploaded your file. I've picked my file, dragged and dropped it. The ingestion phase gives you a schema preview. So this is Ada processing your data going, this is the schema that we've worked out from your data, from your CSV file. So we've worked out that you've got email address, a country, a registration, and a favorite color. And all good. Now you could take it as it is, or you could do a bit of transformation. So in our case, if you remember, registration was a date, and it's come back as a string here. So what we could do is we could then just go, you know what, I'm going to apply some transformation. So go on to the next step, and we've got built-in transformations here that you can just drag and drop. So in our case, we've done the apply mapping, and we've changed registration into a created date with a date format instead. Don't need to do anything else, but just for purpose of the demo, you can drop fields, relationalize stuff, select fields, and so on and so forth. So open source connectors, plugins kind of thing, build your own if it's not here. But in our case, we're happy. The preview looks about right. We're off to the next slide. Now that's all you need to do to get the data into Ada. So you've done the campaign data as well, and that's all this next step is go off to the query workbench, and you can query your data. You can join it with existing data products that you have access to within your database. And off you go, really. So marketing can go wild here and write their own SQL queries. If they're not familiar with that, you could write a SQL query for them, or the best bit is it also connects out to other third-party kind of visualization too, like QuickSight, Power BI, and so forth, so on and so forth. So that's it. That's our use case done, right? And doesn't require, I guess, a data engineer to set anything up at all. Now, if you look closely into this email field, you'll notice that it's all hashed, right? So you don't get any email address leaked out here. So Ada had that feature. Remember that toggle that we said we'll get back to previously, the one that redacted PII data? So if you switch that on, it will automatically go and look for PII data. And then according to your settings, it will either hide it or hash it for different user groups. So in this case, if I go into the governance tab of Ada, I have previously set this up. So if it finds an email address, it will hide it for default users, and it will hash it for power users and admins. So I'm an admin user, so when I query the data, it would appear hash. But if a normal user goes in, they won't even be able to see our email address. And you can set up all these governance attributes through Ada. And this is an example of one that has been set up already. So PII reduction kind of automatically done for you. So that's the original menu. We've done data products, we've done the query workbench, we've done governance. So we're doing a bit about identity provider now. So Ada can connect to your existing data identity provider. So you can federate them into Ada and manage them here, manage your users here, and you can set them up into groups. Out of the box, we have 3 groups set up for you with different access level. It's up to you how you manage it. You can also set up custom groups based on your different use case and give people access to kind of different things. Fairly straightforward. Another last feature I'll call out is we've got a cost explorer as well. Because one question we get a lot when we work with customers is, how much does my data platform cost? Ada gives it to you, as well as the running cost of Ada as well here. You can see on an account level how much you've spent on Ada, and all the underlying infrastructure is spun up for you. There is also a cost section broken down by service. So you can look at the EC2 cost, the KMS cost, Kinesis cost, and all to what Ada has spun up for you in the background. So the beauty of it is it's all AWS native services that you are probably familiar with from your day-to-day managing them. And Ada is really just a light layer on top of it to take away the heavy lifting of having to set things up over and over again for yourself. So for those interested, this is our open source solution repo. If you scan the QR code, it will link you to it. But otherwise, we're more than happy to show you a live demo or talk to you about it at our booth after this. I'm going to leave it at this slide, but that's all the content we have to present. So we have a bit of time for questions.
The dashboard that you said to set up a new data pipelines, can you automate that? Does it support CloudFormation or any sort of automating templating?
Under the hood, it's CloudFormation. So the whole solution is a CloudFormation. It's a stack. Mm-hmm. So after that point, it's ClickOps. So if you mean, can you deploy? So you deploy the whole stack as CloudFormation. If you were to deploy a new pipeline in that as CloudFormation, is that what your question is?
Yes. Yeah.
I think you can't at the moment, mainly because Ada's got very strict architecture and kind of everything that we heard from the well-architected review. So we've got very strong opinion. It's very strong opinionated on security, governance, and all. So it requires things to be set up a certain way, so that you don't have to worry about, have I put my data in the right place? Have I got the right IAM rows and S3 buckets set up? So with that, it doesn't, I guess, make so much sense to be allowing imports of, CloudFormation stack into it, unless we find a way of validating it. Then again, it's an open source solution, so happy to, see what the community asks us and support it that way too.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
One more question. What about the access to the dashboard? Is it hosted on any domain, or like how do people get access? Do we have to give them access to the AWS account, or?
It doesn't require access to your AWS console, so the beauty of Ada is your users do not need to necessarily use the AWS console. It can hook up to your SSO instead, and it actually runs within the account that you install it to, and it's hosted from that AWS account. So under the hood, it's running Lambdas and so on, and whichever domain you configure it to when you're setting it up.
Awesome. Thank you.
In the interest of time, we're going to move on to the next topic. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.